Today, I'd love us to talk about forgiveness. Not just forgiveness, but complete forgiveness. And that is because I feel that many times we don't experience complete forgiveness, whether as the offender or as the offended. And I want us to talk about forgiveness because I believe that in our daily lives we are often challenged with this part of life where we have to forgive others or be forgiven by others. But today I want to focus on us forgiving others. Maybe someday we'll talk about us receiving the forgiveness of others. But today I want us to focus on ourselves giving or being the ones giving the forgiveness to others. And also, allow me to also mention that forgiveness is a huge subject, it's a huge topic, and it's not something to be taken light. And a lot of us battle with it. We battle with whether we should forgive our husbands who cheated on us, our wives who cheated on us, our husbands or our wives who abused us, someone who did not speak well with us, someone who did us wrong in one way or the other. So it's a huge challenge. But having said all of that, and having acknowledged that forgiveness is a huge challenge for all of us, let me also state that I'm not perfect. So I'm not coming to you today because when it comes to this subject, I'm perfect. Instead, I'm working on it on a day-to-day basis. I've challenged myself on this subject from a very young age because I had my own experience in terms of forgiveness. I had my own experience in terms of conflicts that I had to face with or face when I was still a young man or a young boy, just like any other. So this has been a journey. This has been a path that one had to walk so that I can be the man I am today, the father I am, the husband I am today, the pastor I am. Yeah. So forgiveness, is a huge journey that all of us are on. It is a path that all of us need to take, learning about it. So what is forgiveness? Forgiveness means to stop feeling upset or angered or resentful towards someone. Forgiveness means to stop feeling upset or angered or resentful towards someone else. That's what forgiveness is. And many times we do find ourselves being challenged in that way, where things happened and we are unable to move past them, unable to move past their head. And the only thing that we can settle for is to be resentful. I do believe that being resentful at times, it is a choice, because one chooses not to deal with the challenge that they're faced with, not to deal with the offense that was committed towards them, and choose not to forgive the offender. And then what happens is that you stay resentful. Yes, you can be upset, you can be resentful for that moment, you can be angered for that moment, but you need to be able to move past all of that, because if you don't move past all of that anger, resentment, pain, hurt, they can become cancer, an internal cancer that consumes you, and you can die out of bad emotions. You can have a heart attack, you can lose your mind because of negative emotions. And not only is that a cancer to you, as an individual, but it becomes a cancer even to your family. You spread it out to them because you're now dealing with everyone from that point of being resentful, from that point of being hurt, from that point of being pained. So if you don't deal with that, we can become cancerous, because this cancer of hurt and pain, not only does it seek to consume you as its owner, but it also wants to take over. So anger can end your life, can end your joy, and it can do the same to those around you, using you. Forgiveness, secondly, it means to no longer feel upset about or wish to punish someone. To no longer feel upset about someone, and to no longer wish to punish them. Because many times when we are angered, one of the things that we feel is anger. And not only just anger, but we also then get justified, or we justify ourselves to even punish others. It's as if you can't just be angered and it ends there. It should be completed by punishing someone. Umasikhula sasebancane ngesintu say pay squinch. Ungabe happy to pay squinch. So some of us, we are paying squinch to abazali bethu, our partners, our bosses, abantu abasebenzelayo. We want people to pay for what they did for us. And it seems as if that's the normal way. You don't feel okay. You're not okay if people have not felt your pain, if people have not felt your hurt, if people have not suffered the way you suffered. It's as if your pain can only be justified when you've made others feel your pain. Forgiveness also means to cancel a debt. It connects to not feeling or wishing to punish others. Because once people upset you, you feel like they owe you something. They owe you an apology. They owe you words that say, I'm sorry, I apologize. They owe you actions that show that they're sorry. That is why many times when people have offended you, they will say to you, I'll make it up to you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Sweetheart, I will make it up to you. Honey, I will make it up to you, and so forth. Because when someone has offended you, they owe you, and you feel that they owe you. They owe you an apology. And that is why some of us, we will not move on with our lives until we've said everyone who's offended us and say to them, we can't move on up until this is settled. You all owe me an apology. But what we are not aware of is that we can forgive without the offenders asking for apology, asking for us to forgive them. They don't have to ask for an apology, but our hearts and our minds are fixated on the fact that if someone has offended me, they must ask for forgiveness. They owe me at least that. You'd hear someone say, look at this guy, he's moving on as if he did nothing. This guy at least owes me an apology, and he did nothing to apologize. And our lives get ruined. Our lives get suffocated because we feel that someone owes us. And I want to challenge you to say, you don't have to be paid. You can forgive. You can choose to cancel the debt and say, no one owes me anything. Lastly, as I make an attempt to define what forgiveness is, forgiveness also means to excuse the error, to excuse the ignorance and the folly of someone. And by and large, this is because many times, or at times when people offend you, it's simply because they're ignorant of how you'd feel if they do something. And at times, because we are the ones who have been offended, we punish them as if they knew how we're going to feel. Not every time will people know, unless someone was being spiteful, unless someone did that intentionally, and that's exactly what they wanted to produce out of you, a feeling of anger, a feeling of pain, a feeling of suffering. But in general, when people offend us or have offended us, it is because they are ignorant. They did not know that if they did something, you'd react in a specific way. If they did something, you would feel a particular way. And many times that we find ourselves also being offended at people who intended to do good, but maybe their good was not communicated or performed in a way that would make us happy or convinced that they intended to do good. And what then happens is that we become upset with them. So I'm basically saying to us that when we are hurt, when we are in pain, we also need to acknowledge that it's highly possible that someone offended us, not because they wanted us to feel bad. They were just ignorant. They just did not know that we would be offended. And at times it is because of their folly. People out of their stupidity, because people can be stupid, all of us can be stupid. I can be stupid, anyone. There's no one who's exempt from being stupid. We all have our moomish moments in life, and in those moomish moments we find ourselves having hurt people we love, having pained people we love. So forgiveness means to excuse the ignorance and also the folly of someone. We need to be willing to do that. But moving on, I want us to get to about 6 points on forgiveness. Lesson one on forgiveness is that forgiveness is an intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger. In other words, you decide and you become intentional. When someone has offended you ought to be intent on forgive them. You can't forgive without intent. And so it is in life. Anything that was done in life, whether big or bad, whether big or small, good or bad, there was intent. So you also need to have the intent to forgive. For an example, if you don't forgive someone, your intent on it, I will not forgive this person, I will not forgive such actions, this I won't tolerate, this I won't accept, this is not cool with me. Your intent on it. Maybe it's about time that you become intent on forgiving and make that decision to let go of resentment, to let go of anger. It doesn't benefit us in any way when we are always upset or resentful towards people. The act that hurt us may stay with us for some time after having let go of resentment, of the anger. It might stay with us. The act that offended us might stay with us. But working on it, working on forgiveness will lessen the load, will lessen the hold it has on us. In other words, I'm not doing myself a favor if I choose not to let go of resentment, if I choose not to let go of anger, of pain. In fact, whoever caused me the pain, many times, they are wherever they are and their happy life is moved on for them, but the offense stays with me and all its emotions. I stay upset. My resentment gets built on over and over and over and again, and to an extent that I become resentful even to innocent people, resentful even to people who know nothing of the offense that that was committed to me. So let go and be intentional about it. You must be intent on it. Number 2, forgiveness is an intentional effort. Now you put out your energies to it and say, I am going to work on it. It won't happen overnight. You work on it. So it is an effort that you put out on a day-to-day basis. You put out when you've been offended by someone. You put in the effort. Many times we expect people who have offended us to be the ones that put in the effort to say, please forgive me, to say I'm sorry. But you find that they put in that effort, but we don't put in the effort to forgive them. It's pointless if someone puts on the effort to apologize, but we don't put on the effort. We don't put in the effort to forgive them. So you need to put in the effort as well. Thirdly, forgiveness liberates the offender. Yes. Forgiveness liberates the offender. But not only does it liberate the offender, it also liberates you who was offended. In other words, when you forgive someone, you are saying that they don't have to live with the guilt, with the shame of having offended you the rest of their lives. But you are also saying, equally so, you are not going to spend the rest of your life on the negative emotions, vested on the negative emotions that were produced by the act that was committed to you by the offender. So many times, people don't want to forgive someone because they feel that they were belittled, they feel that they were undermined, and they feel that the offense was too big. While you might be justified in feeling that way, but the longer you rest on that thinking, the longer your hurt exists, the longer your pain stays. So to liberate yourself from it, you need to be at a point where you then say, I'm liberating this person, I am forgiving them, so that I can have my joy back, so that I can have my laughter back, so that my life can be normal again, so that I can focus on what matters. Many times when you are hurt, even the simple duties that we are supposed to fulfill, we can't fulfill them because we are so much focused on that emotion, on that action that was committed toward us. So anger, resentment can cause us to be non-functional. You won't be the lover you're supposed to be. You won't be the husband you're supposed to be, the wife you're supposed to be, the person you're supposed to be. Why? Because you are vested on negative emotions that are produced or that were produced by the action that was committed to you by the offender. Lesson 4 is that forgiveness must be unconditional. Because if it's not unconditional, life is going to be difficult for you. Because once you set a condition on forgiveness, the big question that you need to ask yourself is, what happens if the conditions of the forgiveness are not met? And let me give an answer to that. It means that you are going to relive the emotions, the negative emotions. It means that you are going to get stuck on those emotions because the conditions of your forgiveness have not been met. So once you set conditions, you are also implying that the person you are forgiving is not human. Let me tell you this and be open with you. People can offend you with the same thing for the next 5 years. I'm sure that those who are staying with their partners, those who are staying with their husbands and their wives, there is that one thing that your partner does that offends you so much. but we've learned to live with it. That's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness, unconditional forgiveness, enables you to learn to live with someone's weakness. Accept them for who they are. Know that let's isidomtshane sami lesi isiqhwala sami lesi lo inkinga yami le, and uphile ube normal, ube okay, no ukuthi ayishem isithandwa sami ingadi akayenzi. Thola ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi leso you are so offended at how the yard looks because your husband, he just does not want to do the garden, but you love them, you understand it, and you even get to a point where you accept that this is my husband's nature, he's just like this. But here's the thing, the husband must also make means that if he can't do the garden himself or he hates it, he gets someone and pays someone to do it, because he knows that if the garden is okay, that my wife is okay. If you know, for an example, there's something that women always, or not women, not all women, but some women, you'll hear someone say, I can't cook, my husband will cook. Okay, it's fine, your husband will cook, but what's wrong with you cooking? And you'll find that the husband is not okay with you not being able to cook, but he has accepted you. Who has my wife can cook, life moves on, and knows that there is it serves him no purpose if he continues being upset with you over the fact that you can't cook. So life must move on. Forgiveness allows life to move on, allows relationships to move on. If you can't forgive, you get stuck. So you need to be at a point where you understand that forgiveness must be unconditional, because you too also have weaknesses. People who usually give out or serve out conditional forgiveness, it is simply that they have not accepted that they live with people, they live with human beings who are filled with weaknesses, filled with mistakes, and will commit them almost any day. Forgiveness, also number 5, forgiveness, as I said, if it's unconditional, it cancels debt. Forgiveness, if it's unconditional, it cancels debt. Now, you won't be at a point where you feel that someone must pay for having made you feel a particular way, or for having pained you, or for having caused you to suffer pain, or to suffer hurt in one way or the other. You will let go of the pain, you will let go of the hurt, and you won't make people, or you won't want people to pay for what they've done to you. So you must move on, and no one must pay if ever you are giving out unconditional forgiveness. And remember, unconditional forgiveness goes hand in hand with unconditional love. You can't love me unconditionally, but when you have to forgive me, you forgive me conditionally. Unconditional love equals unconditional forgiveness. Never forget that. Unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness. That's point 6 now. Unconditional forgiveness values the relationship, but conditional forgiveness values the offense. Now, I have to choose, who do I value? Do I value the person? Do I value the offender, or do I value the offense? If you value the offense, you are always going to raise it. You know that people, that even if you ask for forgiveness, they will always harp on the fact that you had them 2 years ago. And that's because they value the offense. And they are so much vested in it, they will invest in it, they will put in much effort, they will always remind you about it, they will always shout about it, they will always complain about it. Why? The forgiveness was conditional. But if the forgiveness was unconditional, you will hear no more about it, because life moves on. Now, unconditional forgiveness is very important because it allows you to be at a point where you don't look back. You don't look back into the past, or you're not held by the past. Because if forgiveness is unconditional, you leave everything behind and you start on a clean slate. You don't start on a slate that says, but you did that, but you did that. You start on a slate that says you did nothing. Not because people did not do anything to hurt you. Yes, they did something to hurt you. But simply because you are willing to forgive and you want to move on to the future and forget about what happened in the past. Because the past is a burden, but the future is something that you get liberated into by making a decision to forgive today. Let's move on. Now, there are things that I'd love to talk to you also about that have to do with forgiveness. And those are essentially the marks of forgiveness. If those things don't happen, it means that the forgiveness is not complete. I don't know if ever there's such a thing, but allow me to term it and say, if these two things are not there, if restoration and reconciliation are not there, it means that forgiveness is half. I don't know whether I want to call it half full or half empty, but it's not complete. Because what completes forgiveness is the restoration and reconciliation. Let me give you this example. If you steal my land, whether by manipulation or at gunpoint or by deceit, irrespective how you steal it, if you steal my land and then you then come years after and you say you are asking for my forgiveness, you acknowledge you're wrong, you will only show that by giving me back my land. If you don't give me back my land and you are in possession of it, it means that forgiveness is not complete. Now, as the one was offended, you took my land, I will forgive you because I'm a peaceful person, I'm a loving person, I'm a kind person. I will forgive you because I don't want to live with a load of hurt and pain. I will forgive you before you even ask for the forgiveness. Now, when that has happened, I do that so that I can be at a point where I can engage with you with a positive spirit without fighting you. Because if I don't do that, the next time I see you, I am going to fight you, I'm going to shout at you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to do whatever. So I need to be in a good space. So I forgive you before you even ask for the forgiveness so that I can be at a good space emotionally, mentally, so that I can engage you in a much more civil, humane, and loving manner. And once I've done that, I then have the choice to say, pay me back, as an act that says you are sorry for what you did. If you are still in possession of what you stole from me, if you are not in possession of it, then it's up to me to say, I forgive you without you returning that. Or we can make an arrangement plan and say, this is how you are going to then pay me. Sivumelane, and life moves on. But if you are in possession of that and you are not willing to bring back, to restore back to me what you took from me, you are then saying that my forgiveness is useless. You are then saying that I'm stupid. You are then saying that I have no dignity to an extent that you won't even give me back what rightfully belongs to me. If you can't return back what belongs to me, you are saying I've got no rights over it. You are saying that you are the rightful owner. But if you bring back what you stole from me, you are saying you acknowledge that I am the rightful owner and you are not the rightful owner. So Forgiveness goes with restoration. If you've offended someone, you must restore back what you stole from them. If you offended your partner, you must restore back the state of your relationship, the way your relationship was before you offended them. That's restoration. If we were happy before the conflict, when I restore back, it means that I take us back to that point where we were happy. And me, not as the one who's forgiven you, I am saying, let's go back to how things were. So restoration is important in any process of forgiveness. If it's not there, the forgiveness is not complete. I hope you are hearing what I'm saying. There can never be a complete forgiveness without restoration, because each time I look at you, I see my land that you took, and it becomes a constant reminder that you offended me. Though I choose to forgive you every day, in other words, you are giving me the work of forgiving you every day, but if you restore back what you stole, you are saying you are releasing me of the burden of forgiving you every day. And you are now taking responsibility of your actions by giving me back what belongs to me. So, just like someone who steals a car, if they steal my car and they don't return it, they are saying they are the rightful owner, and they are denouncing my rightful ownership over the car. But if they return it, then they are acknowledging that I'm the rightful owner. If you don't return my land back, you are saying I'm not the rightful owner. But if you return my land back, you are then acknowledging that I'm the rightful owner of that land. I hope things will. The last part that I want to talk about that completes forgiveness is reconciliation. Reconciliation has to do with restoring friendly relations. In other words, before I offended you, we used to laugh together. We used to go to the movies together. We used to share a plate of food. We used to do things together. Now, when you forgive me, it means we are now going back to that state where we used to do things together. You can't say that you have forgiven me as my wife, and yet we are not going back to the sec. You can't say you have forgiven me, but when I talk to you as my friend, you are still resentful. You are still spiteful in how you talk to me, in how you address me. You can't say that you have forgiven me, and yet I'm no longer welcome at your place. That's not forgiveness. Why? We have not reconciled. When we reconcile, it means that we are putting things back the way they were before the offense was committed. So I honestly need you to think about that and ask yourself, if you forgive someone, do you work on restoration and do you work on reconciliation? And if you are the one who offended someone, do you ask for forgiveness and do work on restoring back what belongs to the other person, the person you offended? Do you work on restoring the relationship? Do you work on restoring the land? And lastly, do you work on making sure that your relations are friendly now? In other words, you are now at a point where you relate with each other out of love, kindness, generosity, the way you used to before the offense existed. Ask yourself those questions. As I conclude, forgiveness without reconciliation and restoration is not complete. I forgive you. I forgave you. You took my land. Return it, because you are still in possession of it. and let's also have friendly relations. If we can't do reconciliation and restoration, the forgiveness is not complete. Go back to your marriage, go back to your relationships, go back to people who hurt you in the past and say, I've forgiven you, and let's restore back our relationship. Let's reconcile again and have friendly relationship. And as you do that, may the good Lord bless you. May you find peace as you continue to forgive others, as you continue to forgive those who offended you. May the good Lord bless you. Amen.